Welcome to the C&C Auto Show. I'm Aaron Clements here to share information on how to keep your car safe, dependable, and long-lasting. And we are here on remote once again. This time, we're at Philip Hawkins Motor Company, and we'll be talking about modern cars and all of those things that make driving easier, more relaxing, and safer. And we're here to discuss those new car features that a lot of vehicles have now. Wonderful things. I love talking about this. It's so exciting. And here to talk with us also, we have Gary Settles of Philip Hawkins Motor Company. Gary, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
Well, I appreciate you allowing us to be a guest here at Philip Hawkins Motor Company. We also have Shannon Rogers.
Good morning.
Shannon, thank you for inviting us to spend some time with you here, and thank you for allowing us to come into your beautiful showroom that is here at Philip Hawkins Motor Company, and thank you for bringing a beautiful car in, and we'll be bringing several cars in throughout the morning, and we'll be discussing some of the safety features that they have, that these cars have, because there's so many people out there just really don't know what all's available. And there's also some people out there that still love to drive, and they would drive more if they felt safer as they were driving, because a lot more cars are on the road now. It's a lot of things that can be done to make that process safer so that people will enjoy driving that much more.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, also, you can call in. We're answering automotive questions, and the number to call there is 800-224-9090. And I'm sure that if you have a question about a nice feature on a car that you'd like to have or do have and not that sure about it, you can have those type questions answered too, because we got Gary Settles here and Shannon Rogers here, and they would more than happy be able to answer those questions and do that. Again, number 800-224-9090. You can also watch us on Facebook and YouTube. You just tune right in. So one of the things that we always like to do on this show is throw a tech tip quiz out there, and we're going to do the same thing now. And we have a tech tip quiz. Of course, the winner will receive a tech tip quiz T-shirt. A C&C Auto Show T-shirt with tech tip quiz on there, and to show that they're a winner. And that in Mason Rogers, our producers, also from time to time throws in some other paraphernalia on the deal. Okay, here's the question. Alyssa lives in Nashville, and she was taking a trip in her 2021 Kia Soul to see her mom. She had to work the night before and got up at 5 to make an 8-hour trip. She'd been driving over 5 hours and was very drowsy. Someone sent her a message and told her that she needs to take a break and drink some coffee. Who sent the text, and how did they know that she was drowsy? And if you know the answer to today's tech tip quiz, you give us a call. And again, 800-224-9090. And let's start talking about some of these things on the vehicles. I'm gonna mention that one of my favorite modern features on cars is driver's assist. I love that. What would you say there, Shannon? Do you get a fair amount of people that mention that they love the driver's assist and that's a feature they would like to have?
Man, people love technology. They do. It doesn't matter if it's a new phone or a new TV. They love technology. Mm-hmm. And that translates over to cars perfectly. You have so many new features that are out there. You know, I've been in the business for about 20 years now. And when I got into it, GPS, navigation, that was big. That was huge. And that's just a very small part of what's available now.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, as far as technology, the more the better. People absolutely love it.
Yeah. And Gary, do you see a lot of people that enjoy seeing a lot of this technology that they're adding to the vehicles, and actually, in some cases, change cars because they want different features?
I've seen that a good bit. Some features people insist on having for their new vehicle. some people are a little overwhelmed at the technology. So here at Philip Hawkins Motor Company, we take the time to help them, educate them, and get them comfortable with their new vehicle and all that comes with it.
Well, I think that is an important spot. If you're buying a vehicle from a company like Philip Hawkins Motor Company, they'll show you a lot of the things about the functions and the features on a car. If you're buying the vehicle from an individual somewhere, you may have a relative or someone who is familiar with a lot of the features on the modern cars. Let them take a ride with you. Let them show you all the things that it do, because you don't want to own a car for a year or 2 years and then all of a sudden, oh, I didn't know it would do that. That's great. I love it. You want to try to find out about those features as quickly as you can so you can really have a good time. Now, on the lane assist, what I don't mind telling you, and I'll say this, even though I love technology also, one of the things I like about lane assist is you can cut it off if you want to. And there's times that I do. There's times that I just don't want it interfering with my driving. I want to drive. I want to do all the driving myself. But other times with lane assist, if I'm trying to concentrate on something or doing something to where I want to relax just a little bit more when I'm driving, a lot of times I'll put driver's assist on so that I don't have to focus 100% on the driving, and I can let the car do its own driving for a period of time. So I like it both ways. I like driving myself manually, but I also love that driver's assist and there's no question it has saved a lot of people. Hey, would you two let's go to a tech tip quiz person that says they have the answer. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Let's do it, Gary?
Sounds good.
All right, here we go. We're going to go here, and I'm not sure the name. They didn't give their name, but we are going to someone who says I may have the answer. Well, it's Charles or Carl. Welcome to the C&C Auto Show. What can we help you with?
Hey, it's Charles. How you doing, Aaron?
Doing good, Charles. You're going to have to change your name now because it didn't come through correctly. And we're talking about technology. The technology is what answers the phone and sends me that information. And sometimes it's not quite perfect. It throws all kind of crazy stuff up there. All right, Charles, if I read this right, it mentioned...
I used to have...
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I was listening to you. What'd you have?
Oh, I used to have it programmed WGAC, but since y'all put y'all's new number, I haven't programmed it in.
Oh, okay. Well, you need to do that. Be sure to program 800-224-9090. And anybody who wants to write that down real quickly,
sir.
Put it down. 800-224-9090. And that's answering all your automotive questions. That's the way to do it. Okay, now, from what I understand, it said something that you may have an answer to our tech tip quiz. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I haven't tried in over a year, maybe
Wow. You must have got an A button. That happens when from time to time, if somebody takes an A button, some people have actually had to go into therapy, and it takes up to a year to get over that A button. And Mason, the show producer over there.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah, the show producer he loves having all of that power over people. He can push one button and throw them into therapy for a year. Okay, we're gonna put you on stage real quick. I am going to read the question. Alyssa lives in Nashville. She was taking a trip in her 2021 Kia Soul to see her mom. She had to work the night before, so she got up at 5 to make the 8-hour trip. She'd been driving for over 5 hours, and she was very drowsy. Someone sent her a message and told her that she needs to take a break and drink some coffee. Who sent the text, and how did they know that she was drowsy? Charles, all eyes are on you. What is the answer to today's Tech Tip quiz?
Okay, well, she has a GPS system in her car. Mm-hmm. She had it programmed with her telephone. And the GPS recognized that she had drove at least 5 hours.
Uh-huh.
So it said, we got to send this lady a text. So she either can need some coffee, and or some water.
Charles, man, I am so sorry. Oh, Charles, no, Charles, no. Oh, man.
Am I close? Am I close?
Charles, you just missed it. You missed it by that much. And Charles, the bad part is I hope you didn't take your therapist's number out of your phone because you'll need them again. But try to get through it.
No.
Try to
I got the number on speed dial.
All right, try to get through it in faster than the year. Charles, we appreciate it very much. Okay, we'll be right back after
Yeah, I
these
know.
messages.
Good to talk to you.
Same here. Bye-bye.
Let me talk to you. Good to talk.
Bye-bye. Okay, we'll be right back. Gary Settles and Shannon Rogers, and we are talking about modern car features and answering automotive questions. And you can join in by dialing 800-224-9090. That's on any Saturday morning, 8:05 to 10 Eastern Time. You can also watch us live on Facebook and YouTube. And while we're talking about these cars, we've got a vehicle behind us, and we will be talking about some of the accessories on this vehicle. And one of the accessories has to do with blind spot monitors. I love those. Shannon, do you have a lot of requests for vehicles to have the blind spot monitors, or do a lot of people not even know about it until they purchase a car, or do most people done got used to it because it's been around for a good while now?
Well, it has been around for a while, and I would say that probably 60 to 70% of our customers either know about it and ask for it, or think it's at least a bonus when they're looking at a vehicle. Cars aren't really getting any smaller. We're starting to see some very unique space-age shapes with the new SUVs, and the problem with that is a lot of times it increases blind spots in the vehicle. Especially on your third row SUVs and bigger trucks. So it's actually becoming, I wouldn't call it a necessity, but it's definitely a big help.
Yes.
You're not able to see in your peripherals on either side, and any safety feature that lets you know that somebody's in the lane next to you before you switch lanes, in my opinion, is a great thing.
Yeah, that's turned out to be one of those must-have features. Would you agree with that, Gary?
I would agree. And I saw a feature the other day that was unique, kind of like an expansion of that feature. It was in a 2020 Hyundai vehicle. It was the top of the line, and whenever you put your turn signal on, it had cameras on either mirror. Mm-hmm. It would show you a visual of that side of the car right there in your where you see your speedometer.
Yeah, I've driven vehicles with that on there before, and that is a great feature because you're not just looking at the fact that you know a vehicle is there, you actually can see the vehicle that is there.
And every time I put my turn signal on, I looked at that visual before I,
that's a great thing to me on the vehicle. All of these computers on the vehicle talking to each other now. For instance, we talked about driver's assist a little bit earlier. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I like about driver's assist when I do have it on is I'm riding down the road and I have driver's assist, but a car's in front of me and I want to make a change lanes or something like that. Well, you turn your turn signal on and that driver's assist cuts off. Now, and I'm talking about level 2 driver's assist where it's mostly helping with lane centering and your speed. And with that, it cuts it off so it don't try to move the wheel as you're trying to change lanes. We are live on remote at Philip Hawkins Motor Company, and I have John Amo here with me. John is the Global AR Cataloging Application Research and Product Application Director at Gates. And this is a big deal for me because I've been using Gates products since I was 12 years old, and they are one of the biggest names in the industry. So this is kind of amazing for me. John, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be on the show.
Oh man, we are so glad that you're here. It's kind of amazing. I mentioned I've been seeing that Gates name since I was, like I mentioned, 12 years old, and that's been a couple of years. That's been a minute. So, but it is such a pleasure to talk to you. Many of the listeners might know, but there's just so many parts in every engine that Gates makes. So many that I don't really know where to start in discussing the parts. So, what's your suggestion, and what part of repair do you think we should talk about today?
Yeah, you're right. We do have a lot of parts
You do.
that go on today's engines. So, but Gates parts play key roles in various areas under the hood. Just like my kids, I can't pick a favorite. So I don't want to talk about just one part, but bundles of parts. I get it. When a car comes in for repairs, everybody probably thinks that the more parts you replace, the more expensive it's going to be. Well, that's a true statement. But replacing a lot of these interconnected parts together can save on time and labor.
Mm-hmm.
And it can save on future breakdowns, costs and downtime, and having your vehicle in the shop. Everybody gets, the concept of bundling when it comes to, let's say, internet and cable, home and auto insurance, value meals at the drive-thru. It's the same with auto repairs. You can save a lot of time and hassle by, restoring subsystems that are having a problem. And all those parts all have the same miles on them. They have the same wear. So why would it make sense to only replace one and pay labor each time that you're in there doing the repair? So bundling auto repairs isn't just about savings. It's like insurance. Failure of one part can actually be caused by a different root cause. So the new part may get broken, may fail by an issue as well. Other times, replacing one part can affect another part it's connected to. So it's really about bundling.
And John, I'm gonna mention something from a different point of view on that. Also, I'm gonna mention it from the technician side or even the shop side. They want to do a good job on a vehicle to where it's going to last a long time. The person's going to be very happy, and they're not going to have to go back into that again. And if you replace just one component and another component goes bad right next to that, and you have to go back in and do a lot of the same thing that you've already did in order to get to the other part, then the technician is not happy with that either. The technician wants to be able to do a great job on a vehicle, and he or she knows that if they're working on that vehicle and they're able to replace the components that they know are eventually going to go bad, then it makes them feel that much better about the repair also. So I agree, bundling with those parts is without question the way to go.
Yeah, no one wants a comeback, so
Yes.
it's natural that everybody wants to do a complete repair. It's good for the shop. It's good for the motorist. It's good for everybody all around, for sure.
It is. And going off that thought of bundling, so what engine parts should go into the, well, I guess you'd say value meal repair, and what's the burger, what's the fries? I love the way that you put that. And what's the drink that has Gates in it?
Yeah, when we think about the bundling, so let's think about, probably one of the most common repairs, charging system, right? Mm-hmm. You got to take off belts, to replace the alternators, the pumps, the AC compressors, and time's already spent by loosening the tensioner, taking off the belt, re-ratting the belt back on, and re-tensioning tensioners in those manually tensioned areas. So adding a belt and tensioner at the same time can really save on labor costs down the road. Probably the other most common would be the cooling system. Radiators and water pumps are metal parts that often get replaced. And to get to a radiator, you obviously have to take off the hoses, right? And to drain the system to get the radiator out. It sometimes doesn't make sense that when the hard part's worn out, And on these newer hoses that are modular hoses that have plastic ends, that they wouldn't be damaged, and some of them are a real stickler to get off. They're stuck on. They're almost welded to the radiator, and you've really got to tug them to get off. So removing hoses and putting them back on adds further stress to probably the most common failure points, the connections. So why risk a comeback or a leak when you can just do them while you're there?
Absolutely, and I agree with that 100%. Now, how do you know which parts to bundle for your maximum value?
There's so many subsystems of cars, but manufacturers have recommended intervals for radiators, water pumps, alternators, timing belts. Anytime you're in these systems, just think about bundling. What parts are part of it? You're approaching 100,000 miles. Manufacturers try to build products that last 100,000 miles, so they all tend to have similar replacement time frames. So let's think of a couple of areas here and do a little rapid fire. I'm going to name a scenario, and you kind of tell me what you think. A car starts when you're in a parking lot or on your way to work or school. It's the charging system. Think about bundling belts, tensioner with alternators. Stranded on road trips in the summer. Cooling system, overheating. Bundle hoses with radiators and water pumps. You want to play your radiator, or you want to play your radio, charge your phone, use your heated seats. That's all part of the charging system. Bundle belts and tensioner. You're on a date. It's hot out. You need AC maximum cooling system. Bundle hoses with radiator and water pumps. You're on the highway headed home and you don't want to have a failure of your system. Timing system, right? That's bundle timing belt, tensioners, pulleys, water pump. Those are all interconnected systems that you need to be thinking about.
And John, one that comes to mind has to do with the timing belt and water pump. I get that question quite often. As a matter of fact, I normally read some of the emails that I get during the week, or I mention a question that I've got during the week. And one of the ones that I have that someone recently called in about had to do with why are we mentioning doing the water pump and the pulleys and the other things when all they need is a timing belt. Their owner's manual says replace it at a certain time interval. But one of the main reasons is we want to do that timing belt in a way to where they won't need to go back into there again for another 80, 90,000 miles.
Oh, absolutely. All those pieces, when you're doing a 6-hour timing belt job and you just replace a timing belt and you don't think about those other components, you're asking for a failure. Those pulleys and everything else, who wants to pay another 6 hours of labor? Labor rates are expensive today. Who wants to do that and pay that again? You're there, and it's usually only another half an hour labor. It's relatively cheap.
Yes, and they will go bad. John, where can the listeners go for more information on Gates?
Yeah, good question, and you may not need the repairs right now, but it's worth going to look at Gates.com Protect, Gates.com/protect. There we offer motorists and consumers some great rebates, and all the forms and everything are right there to download. So bundling saves you money. We want to help you save you money.
And mention that website one more time just to make sure everybody's got it.
Yeah, it's Gates.com/protect.
Gates.com/protect. And that's the way to go. Bundling parts. And John, we are so happy that you joined us today. And really, it's been kind of amazing to have the opportunity to talk to you. And I appreciate that Gates putting out such a fine product in the automotive industry It is just it's been around for many, many years, and I use it on a regular basis.
Yeah, you bet. Well, thanks for your patronage and then having me on the show.
We thank you. Appreciate you being here, and have a great weekend.
All right, you too.
Thank you. Okay, we'll be right back after these messages. Show. I'm here on remote live at Philip Hawkins Motor Company with Gary Settles and Shannon Rogers, and we are talking about modern car features, and we're answering automotive car questions. We've already received an answer to our Tech Tip quiz. That was kind of awesome. But you can still ask questions, and that number is 800-224-9090, and that's Saturday mornings, any Saturday morning, 8 to 10 Eastern time. And we are talking about different things. And one item that I want to say a few words about that to me is a beautiful feature on cars, and it's really, I don't know if you'd call it a modern, just on modern cars because it's been around a long time. But I do know that it's improved dramatically year after year, just getting better. Shannon, what do you think about the backup cameras?
Which ones?
Oh, yeah, that's right. You have many now, don't you?
They have been around for probably better part of 15 years now. But it's like comparing HD TV from 20 years ago to the 8Ks that are out now.
Oh, good analogy.
You've got backup cameras that their only function is to show you what's directly behind you. And then you have cars like Gary was talking about a while ago. We've got a 22 or a 23 Santa Cruz out there that will literally show you a 360-degree panorama around the car from overhead. Okay? That system takes about 7 cameras to composite that picture together.
Uh-huh.
So not only do you have backup cameras, you have backup side view cameras, you have front view cameras, you have cameras.
Yes.
Everywhere, all around the car now. So it makes things safer. You've got so many systems now that are interlinked with just your cameras. Your forward-facing cameras for your collision preventatives and your what do they call it? The accident mitigation systems. You've got your side view cameras. Gary mentioned a minute ago that on some of the cars now, you don't have to take because we're used to doing this when we're going to change lanes.
Mm-hmm.
That's old school. But you've got cameras now that actually show you what's beside you in the lane if you're going to just simply change lanes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a huge benefit to people. Not just old people who can't do this anymore, but anybody who simply doesn't want to take their eyes off the road for more than a couple seconds. You can just simply look down and say, okay, I'm clear, and go.
It makes it less likely that someone's going to make a turn and think that everything was clear, and then all of a sudden something actually being there. Gary, do you run into, from time to time, you're selling a truck, and a person does not like to, has a hard time knowing how far to judge to back up to the trailer so that they can hook their trailer up? Do you think that back camera is really beneficial in being able to see the trailer hitch when they're hooking up?
It is beneficial. I use that over the summer myself, and I don't trailer very often, so I relied on it heavily.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and for those that are used to waiting until they hear a jarring noise and put that little dent in the back of their bumper, or you see tags all beat up because they didn't know how close they were to the trailer hitch, it's really kind of awesome to be able to back up and see exactly where that trailer is, and then it just makes that so much easier to be able to get in there. I'll ask Shannon this question. Shannon, do you think that there's a chance that we might eventually hit an overload on information that's coming in on these vehicles for the driver to process?
I think for me personally, we've already hit that. I can't, and I've been doing this for a while, and there's so much to these cars now that my 49-year-old brain can't comprehend it all. And I'm pretty tech savvy, so that's saying a lot. But You know, I was reading an article last week about a technology that Volvo is coming out with on their electric vehicles starting in 2025. They're implementing LiDAR radar. This is stuff that the Army, you know, is using to geographical map, you know, unknown places, and Volvo's using it in their cars now. That combined with the advances in AI that they're talking about bringing in for autonomous driving, there's gonna come a point where I don't know that I want to drive anymore because the car's going to be doing everything, you know.
Shannon, you do not need a hamburger today.
Right.
You should go get something that is better for you.
There you go.
I will take you over here instead.
Absolutely. Let's go to the gym, boy. Yeah.
I don't care how much gas you're giving the car. You're still going to where it wants to go. Yeah, a lot of that stuff is coming. It's a lot of I look at it a lot like the information that comes in to me at the shop also. At one time, you would get email. Then you get email and text messages. Then you get email from several different accounts and that. Then you get messages on how things that you're supposed to do during the day. And it gets to where a huge amount of information is coming your way, sometimes more than you can actually process at the time. But I still love it.
It is cool. It is cool. Question for you, since you're on the shop side of this, all this new technology that's coming in, how is that affecting the shop as far as the equipment you have to have? And
most of the technicians love it. Now, there's some technicians that really only want to do the mechanical side, and they go in, they say, I like to do normal brake jobs, normal transmission replacements, and normal stuff. Other technicians just absolutely go crazy over all the technology, and what's good about it also is I think it keeps them on the cutting edge, because just this week, an example now, things like this happen on a real regular basis, but just last week, we had one gentleman come in from Napa, and he went over some items that had to do with technology on brakes. Then we had two people that went about an hour away. They left work a little early, went an hour away, and they went to a class that had to do with electronics one night, and then they come back, and they went back the second night for classes on electronics. And then this coming week, we have two different classes that we'll be going to. So we're constantly going to classes to try to stay on top of it. And I think it's a good thing. It keeps us sharp. But actually, along with the vehicles being able to do more, they're also able to diagnose themselves better. At one time, there was probably 110 trouble codes stored on a car. Now there's thousands that are on a vehicle. And so it gives you more information, more data. So we love it, in short. Yeah, absolutely love it. And want to continue to do more. Gary, as far as the customers that come in, do you spend some time going over the information with the customers when you sell a vehicle and you say, well, this is how this works. This vehicle has this, and this.
We have to. However, I try to tailor it to the customer. Some customers are not interested in knowing every feature. It's a little bit overwhelming when you get a new car. So I try to hit the high notes. Yeah. And I promise that if they'll come back in a day or two, we can revisit.
I think that's a great way to do it. Okay, we're going to pull over for just a second. We'll be right back on the road shortly with more of the C&C Auto Show. And we do welcome you back to the C&C Auto Show. You jump in, buckle up, and hold on. I'm Aaron Clements, here to share information on how to keep your car safe, dependable, and long-lasting. And we are here on remote at Philip Hawkins Motor Company, and we are still talking about modern car features. That's those things that make driving easier, more relaxing, and safer. And we've been talking to Gary Settles over here. Gary, you ready to crank it back up?
Yes, sir.
All right, fantastic. And we've been talking to Shannon Rogers over here. Shannon, you ready?
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to make it happen. And we've been bringing in some modern cars. As a matter of fact, we switched it out during the longer break there because it was a Chevrolet product. What car was that in here before?
That was a late model Equinox.
Late model Equinox. It had a lot of great features on it. It had driver's assist and a lot of other features. Of course, backup cameras, and no doubt it had all the normal safety features, ABS brakes and airbags galore. The cars now, they have so many airbags in there, and so many. They're actually, I would call them smart airbags because they have igniters that pull your seatbelt tighter. They have just so many other functions on there. Now, during the break, we pulled another vehicle in. What is this one?
This is a Hyundai Santa Cruz.
Hyundai Santa Cruz. I kind of like this car. I was looking at it, and it's got a little area back here as a truck bed that you can use, and also it's got a little rack on the top of the vehicle. And we're not here talking about cars that sell them. We're more this show today is about telling people about the many features that are there. But I can't help but love the way this car looks. It looks really good, so I had to say a few words about it. So we're going to be talking more about those modern cars. You should be able to pick us up on Facebook and YouTube. That will be edited and fine-tuned a little bit later on this afternoon. But for right now, you can just watch that raw footage live, all the good parts and bad parts that we do. You just look on there and watch us because we love you being here with us. So you can tune in, log in, and, of course, you can call in with those automotive questions. The number is 800-224-9090. And I want to apologize to a caller that was a couple of callers that was on before. We made a mistake and took a little longer than we had planned because we got all excited about the cars. Just give us a call back, 800-224-9090, if you have a question about your car, your truck, or your SUV. And, Gary, on this vehicle here, I noticed that this is what wouldn't fit into the class of a modern accessory or a modern feature, but it's actually a car and a truck. We have a bed back here that we can use, and also it's a four-door vehicle to where you can put a whole family in there if you like. But that's kind of like a pretty nice feature, and plus it's got a cover to cover all your suitcases or whatever you're using on the trip. So to me, in a way, I would call that a modern feature because you don't see it real often.
That's right. I think the first time I can remember seeing a vehicle like this was the old El Camino.
Yeah.
And this is a modern take on it. That is true.
Mm-hmm. But the El Camino was a two-door. So
that's right.
It was basically a station wagon with the back end to cut off, is all El Camino was.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the forerunner to this was the Explorer Sport Track.
Uh-huh.
And before that, the Subaru Brat. You remember the Brat?
Yes.
I do.
It's a smaller car with a truck bed on it.
Well, the biggest drawback on a El Camino was that if you could put stuff in the back, but it really wasn't all that secure. The things that you would put back there, that it wasn't secure, and if you had bad weather while it was back there, whatever you had would get wet.
Sure.
What I like about these, and also many of the other vehicles, for instance, Ford trucks, Chevy trucks, many of them now have a bed cover to where if you put your items back there, you can slide the little cover across it, and you can protect them from the weather and keep them secure.
Yes.
Now, of course, just like anything else, if somebody wants in there bad enough, they're going to get in. So
sure. I
wouldn't fill it full of gold or anything like that. But it is reasonably secure what you keep back there. So in a way, it would be a modern El Camino option. Of being able to store your stuff, but also be able to keep it secure. So I think all that part is very good things. Now, as we're talking about vehicles, we really modern features. We would really be slack if we didn't mention some of the safety items. For instance, your anti-lock braking system. At one time, I realize that's not a modern feature in itself.
No, not really.
But how far it has come over the years has become modern, because now not only is it set up to where you have your ABS features, but also you have it set up to where many cars, if they sense that there's a vehicle in front of it, it will do the braking for you.
Sure. It'll do the braking, and it'll utilize the ABS braking at the same time, which is kind of a twofer on that one. You get the safety of the cameras and the automatic braking, plus the because all anti-lock braking is doing is pulsating on the disc in order so you can actually steer while you're braking. You know, old school brakes, if you stomped on them and they locked up, you lost all steering too. With ABS, it allows you to retain control of the vehicle and safely bring you to a stop. As far as advances in ABS, and you know this better than anybody, you know, back when I got into the car business, ABS was a huge thing, but it was very simple. You know, it used mechanical pumps. You hit the brakes, and you had an ABS module that would actually regulate up to how many pulses per second. Now they actually have electronically controlled ABS modules, and they're on like the third and fourth generations of those. So
yes,
it's getting incredible with what they're able to do with just a simple feature like anti-lock braking.
Yes, and from what I understand, anti-lock braking first began with trains that were having trouble with the wheels overheating.
Yep.
And then when I was in the Air Force working on F-4 fighter jets, I noticed I used to crank them up and test different items, but there was a switch over there that I never had a reason to use myself, but it was the anti-skid switch. And basically, as I started checking that system and learning more about that system at the time, I found out that it had a sensor on each main landing gear wheel. And if that sensor sensed that wheel was locking up, it would release pressure to that wheel so it wouldn't lock up and they wouldn't skid off the runway. Well, I start working on cars, and sure enough, years later, they come out with this on cars where it started with R-wall. You would, if it sensed that the rear wheels were locking up, it'd release it. And then they moved into four-wheel anti-locking braking system, and then so on. And now, of course, it's progressed into traction control and many other items. So it's really some neat stuff, come a long way, and I think it's kept a lot of cars from being dented up. No doubt it saved a lot of lives. Would you agree with that, Gary?
Yes. I think the numbers show that many lives have been saved, and drivers are safer for all the technology that's available in cars today.
So ABS traction control, it pretty much takes care of itself on most vehicles. I guess on some vehicles you can cut traction control off.
Sure.
But unless you really want to hear the wheels spin or something like that, there's not that much of a reason for it. It's like system that it's there, but you don't have to do anything. You don't have to worry about it. It's just a lifesaver when you need it.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So ABS traction control, very, very good option to go with. And now we are going to be heading into a break in just a second or two. And when we come back, I'm going to be first talking to Gary and asking Gary what his favorite feature is on the vehicle. And then after that, we'll be talking to Shannon, finding out what his favorite feature is. And then if you want to give us a call and let us know what your favorite feature is, or if you have a question about your car, your truck, your SUV, you give us a call, and that number is 800-224-9090. And we will be right back with more of the C&C Auto Show. I'm here on remote, live at Philip Hawkins Motor Company with Gary Settles and Shannon Rogers. We're talking about modern car features and car questions. Give us a call, 800-224-9090. You can join us by dialing that number on any Saturday morning, 8:05 to 10. You can also watch us live on Facebook or YouTube. And we were talking a little earlier about different features on the vehicles, which there's so many just fantastic features. We've talked about backup cameras, driver's assist, and all of these others. And I would be interested in knowing what Gary's favorite feature is on a vehicle.
When it comes to modern features, my favorite by far is the ability to remote start the vehicle.
Oh, auto start.
Yes, and then in the last 5 years, I would say some auto manufacturers have made it available where they have an app you can download to your phone, and that's taken it to another level because within that app you can remote start your vehicle from your phone from anywhere. So you could be inside the water park knowing that you've got a 15-minute walk out to the car and it's blazing hot with your family. You go ahead and start it up from the phone, which also, by the way, gives you the ability to lock your smart key inside of your car, which is otherwise impossible because the car recognizes that the key is inside and won't allow you to do that. I don't want to carry my keys into the water park. So I can put them in the car, lock the car with the app, start the car before we get to the car, unlock it with the app, and away we go.
You know, I didn't think about that part on being able to leave the key inside the car while you're there. And, of course, that would hold true if you're having your vehicle worked on at a repair facility and you didn't, you wanted to make sure that you were able to pick up your car after hours.
Yes.
You just let them know that they can lock the doors, leave the key on the floorboard, and you say, is the car out there? They say yes. Lock the door from the app, and then you can go by and pick your car up when you get ready.
Yes, and the app will show you where your car's at.
Yeah.
At all times.
Oh, that is awesome.
There's so many benefits to that.
Oh, that is a great deal. Shannon.
Stuff's too fancy for me, man.
What now?
I said all that stuff's too fancy for me.
Oh, I love stuff like that. And by the way, we did buy my wife's car come from here, Philip Hawkins Motor Company, and Ford Explorer, and she loves that feature. I mean, being able to start her car inside. Actually, hers is on a cold morning. She loves the fact that she also uses it in the heat too, but she absolutely, definitely loves it on a cold morning. She'll crank it up and have it all nice and toasty by the time she pulls out.
She's had more than her fair share of opportunities to use it this summer then because it's been hot.
Yeah, it has been a little warm. What's your favorite feature there, Shannon?
Actually, it's something we haven't really even discussed yet. The new all-wheel drive systems, to me, are what interests me the most anyway on some of these new cars. And that actually kind of hits two nails on the head because you're talking about the performance aspect, but it also has a lot to do with the safety aspects. Me and my family do a lot of hiking. We do a lot of winter sports. And the new smart all-wheel drive systems, they're there as much for your protection as they are for your enjoyment. The ability to go places that most people can't go. To me, that's the cool stuff. That's the fun part for me.
And looking at it from the standpoint of an automotive repair facility, years ago when we would when a vehicle had four-wheel drive, you could just about bet that vehicle was going to require a lot of maintenance, have a lot of issues. We really don't run into that much problems with the all-wheel drive vehicles. It's there, just like any other part on a car. There's going to be things come up from time to time, but it's really very little issues that we have run into. So I think that's a great feature, and I think it depends on the climate that you're from. Now you mentioned that you say it's been hot. To me, it's been. It hadn't really felt that bad this summer to me. It's felt pretty nice, but that's why you love that cooler weather. You like that winter sports, and of course, there's no doubt some people that are listening to this show that might be in climates that they have a lot of snow, they have a lot of ice, or in other places might have mud. That's a very big benefit.
And it's not just snow or mud. It's also places that get a lot of rain because rain is responsible for more accidents than mud will ever be.
Yeah, and then of course you combine that all-wheel drive with a traction control,
of course,
and you really have some neat stuff. Before you would have one wheel spinning, and then you would have to pretty much depend on the other wheels to go, even though that one was spinning. Now you're able to provide a little braking power to that one. Keep it from spinning, and boom, you're out of any kind of condition that much faster. Very safe system, so that is a great deal. I'm going to mention the one that I like. It kind of goes hand in hand with what we're all talking about. We are talking about options that we like the most. You like certain items and you like the all-wheel drive, I'm going to put mine in 2 because I enjoy comfort and I enjoy being able to do things while I'm in the car, function in business while I'm in the car. And I absolutely love the fact that I can hit that button and change that car to any temperature that I want. I love that. I can make
like
it
you're sitting in
cold.
your
I
living
can
room.
make it hot. I could just get it exactly how I want it on there. But also along with that, I'm able to put a navigation system up there and not have to worry about where I'm going. I know where I'm going. And then I can also listen to my text messages through the vehicle. And I'm able to also use things like Apple Play on some vehicles and do certain things that I would normally do with my phone. So it's just and also listening to whatever talk. I listen to a lot of audio books, and I can listen to whatever I want to listen to while I'm gone. So I actually, even though I'm driving, that used to be you would only be able to drive and then you get to your destination, you do what you want to do. I'm able to get a lot of my business done while I'm in the car. So it's almost like a little miniature office that's riding around on a wheel. And I'm sure it's that way for many, many people. But I just love that feature. Hey, we got a call. As soon as we get back, we will be going to Jerry in North Augusta. Jerry's got a 99 Chevrolet Silverado, and we'll talk to him about it as soon as we return with more of the C&C Auto Show. Let's take a slow ride in a Hyundai, what is that, Santa Fe?
Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz. Beautiful vehicle. Love it. We are live on remote here at Philip Hawkins Motor Company with Gary Settles and Shannon Rogers. We're talking about modern car features. Having a great time. This is a lot of fun. I've actually loved it. You can join us by dialing 800-224-9090. That's any Saturday morning, 8:05 to 10. You can also watch us live on Facebook or YouTube. And we will go straight to the caller. And this is Jerry. Jerry, welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Good morning, sir. I have a 99 Chevrolet Silverado pickup truck, and it's got 230,000 miles on it, and it's been very dependable. I mean, no big issues with it, just regular maintenance and stuff like that. But lately, I've been driving it, and I backed it up maybe 10 feet to let somebody turn around in my driveway and stuff like that, and I got back in it the next day, fired it up, and it runs for about 3 seconds and shuts right back off.
Okay.
Now, I've changed the fuel filter, the fuel pump, and, I just don't know what else it could be doing.
Okay. I was going to ask the question, when you cut that key on, do you see a security light on the dash anywhere that says the word security?
Yes, sir, and I bypassed that security system too.
Okay. Now I'm gonna confess, on this vehicle, I remembered that we had that issue, like you're talking about, many years ago. I work. Jim Bertishaw's is the manager of the location that I hang out at most of the time. And the two of us would work together many times, and we run into a lot of those doing that very same thing. So I gave him a call, and he was actually sitting there watching Ring of Fire, Johnny Cash. And so we talked about it a little bit, and he reminded me that was the PAT system, passive anti-theft system. And he also reminded me that we used to change that little cylinder lock. Now, to be honest with you, I don't know how in the world you would ever bypass that system. Now, is there some type of kit you were able to buy to bypass that?
It's got the yellow and the brown wire, and I did read, that if you snip those two in the steering column, that would bypass it. Now that didn't work, so I connected those, that wiring back.
Okay.
But even when I did that, it was doing the same thing. But you're talking about it could be what now?
Well, it's kind of amazing that you were able to bypass that, because I never did see an actual way to bypass that. Now, I guess anything at all is possible. But what normally would go bad is there was a sensor that sensed that the key was actually turning, and it had to be replaced to be able to, for it to send the signal so that the computer would be able to activate the system or release the vehicle to be able to crank up. And your symptoms sound exactly like that. Now, of course, a lot of things can do that, let the vehicle start back up. But it sounds like to me that you have a PAT system issue, passive anti-theft, and that system needs to be diagnosed. But if you like to work on the vehicles yourself, there's a sensor at the key that has to be there that we would normally find as bad. We replaced a ton of them during those year models. There was a whole bunch of those on the road, and it would take care of the problem. And you, I hate to say it, but I think the vehicle has to have some programming done once that part is replaced.
Right. I think so.
Yeah.
Now, is that something that C&C Automotive can?
Oh, yes. We do that. We can now, I would recommend having it diagnosed. And I'm going to mention this real quickly. Sometimes I might mention if a person is working on a vehicle themselves, sometimes I might say, yeah, just put that, you might try that. If it's an inexpensive part, and especially if it's a part that needs to be replaced from time to time anyway, and they like to work on their own car, sometimes I might just say, yeah, I would put one of those on. But in most cases, if you take the car to a professional automotive repair facility, they're going to want to diagnose it because they're not going to want to just put a part on. And because you're paying to have it on, and you don't want to take a chance on wasting that money. So, yes, I would recommend having some diagnostic tests done. They can hook it to the computer and tell whether that part is bad or not, and then give an estimate and say, hey, this is what it would run. And you say, yeah, I'd like to have that, and we can get it taken care of. Okay. The answer to the question is yes, we would love to.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. We thank you very much.
I guess I'm closer to Telfair Street, so I guess that'd be the closest place to go.
You come on.
Okay, man, I will. I'll make an appointment.
Sounds good. Hey, thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, the number to call, 800-224-9090. If you have a question about your car, your truck, your SUV. And look out front. We got some more cars rolling in. All right, let's see. You name what kind of vehicles those are, Gary. They're on a trailer with probably about 3 or 4 cars on the trailer. They are absolutely beautiful. Shannon, what kind?
Looks like the first one is a Ford Escape. Second one is a Ford Edge. And
Mustang. Is that a Mustang convertible?
Yeah, that's our Grabber Orange 2. I think that's a 2021.
Orange?
Yep.
Mustang convertible with black stripes. That brings me to another thing that I wanted to mention, another option that I like. Well, I was talking first about the how much I enjoyed the AC system. I also enjoyed the sound system, which has to do with, I mentioned that some because of it helping me to get the work that I enjoy doing. But also I love convertible tops.
Do you really?
Oh, I love it. A lot of times I'll take my top down in the beginning or actually in the springtime, and I'll just leave it down. I park under an awning at work, and I'll just leave it down the whole year unless I get caught in the rain.
Now, what convertible is this?
I got a little Z3, and it's not a newer model Z3. I don't have all the beautiful options, but it's a Z3, and I just leave the top down all the time. I enjoy driving it. Okay. Are we ready to go to another phone call? We will go over to James. James, welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help with?
I've been listening intently to hour number 2, and I just heard that last caller, and I've had a thought that might save him a little bit of work if he wanted to try it. Those wires that he cut on the steering column didn't really disable anything, but I believe that Berryman makes a electrical parts cleaner that if he's got gook in that steering ignition switch where that key goes, and whatever's in there that's supposed to read on that, we all know how, as he said, 200,000 miles worth of use, that's a lot of key in and out, and a lot of oily hands over the years. Do you think maybe if he got that Berryman energized electrical parts cleaner and just sort of shot that in there where the key goes in that contact area, and then also make sure his key is real clean, would that help him maybe overcome changing out that cylinder?
Oh, that's a good point, James, because I was under the impression, and I may have just assumed this and shouldn't have because he didn't actually say it, that he would actually crank it up, it would cut back off, and then he would do that over and over again, and it wouldn't stay, and he wasn't able to drive the car because of that. But it could be just that if it was a case of him cranking it running 3 seconds, cutting off, and then him doing the same thing again, but as long as he held his foot on the gas a little bit, he could keep it running. You're absolutely right. It could be just his throttle body is very dirty, and he needs the intake system clean. And like you mentioned, the Berryman product, he could spray that in there and clean that out, and also do some other items as far as the Berryman product goes, and solve his problem that way. So that's a great point, and it could be that he's actually able to keep it running if his foot was on the gas. So I hope he's listening.
Yeah, because what I'm not thinking so much of throttle body, which surely, I mean, if that hasn't been done, we all know how that can affect your low speed. But if it's starting and shutting right off, and he was looking, and you all were talking about his pass key system, and we have a late 90s car, and I know there's a little chip in the key. Maybe that's how his works, too. And if that's not able to read because something in there is all gummed up, maybe it just needs to be cleaned in the lock cylinder there.
Yeah.
And then while he's at it, he can go down to Telfair Street and get a throttle body cleaning done as well. That wouldn't be bad.
And maybe a little PB blaster. But don't call me Shirley again.
Don't call me Shirley. Have mercy. All right. That's my 2 cents for hour number 2, okay?
Yeah, and we appreciate it. We always enjoy you calling in. Thank you, James. You know we like to have fun, too, don't you? All right, sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate the call. Okay, the number to call, 800-224-9090. We're going to pull over for just a second. As soon as we return, we'll be talking more about features on modern cars, and also we'll be going to the next caller, and we'll be right back after these messages. I'm here on remote, live at Philip Hawkins Motor Company with Gary Settles and Shannon Rogers. We're talking about modern car features, having a ball. And when you think about all the stuff that's available, it's just so exciting. I absolutely love it. You can call in and join us by dialing 800-224-9090. That's on any Saturday morning, 8 to 10 Eastern time, just like Margie is doing. Let's go over to Margie. And Margie, welcome to the C&C Auto Show. What can we help you with?
Oh, I need help. How are you doing?
Well, I am here for you. We're ready.
Okay. Last Saturday, a window on my 2013 Mazda 5 with 31,200 and something miles, and the window has not been back up yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I've called.
Go ahead.
Oh, I've called a couple places to get it serviced. Two dealers, one that I've dealt with where I bought the car years back, and another one that's maybe a little handier, but that's newer. And both of them, I was shocked by the price of working on the window.
Wow. Okay. We're gonna walk through a couple of things. When the window went down, did it make any kind of unusual noises when it went down, or it just sounded normal, and then it would not go back up?
I did not notice any noise. I had gone for some coffee at the drive-through, and then when I pulled, I was trying to get the window up, it made a gosh-awful grinding noise.
Okay, all right. There's a chance you got
But the window doesn't move.
Okay. Well, if he's hitting the button, see, that eliminates a lot of stuff. When you say it makes a grinding noise when it tries to go back up, that means that window, the regulator has gone bad inside there. If you wouldn't have heard any noise at all, I would have said there's a chance your window motor might be bad, and then I was going to let you know that sometimes you can bump on the door and get it to go back up, but then you don't want to put it back down because it might stick again. But with it making the grinding noise, we know that the electric motor is turning. We know that more than likely the little teeth on the regulator are shot. So you are when you go to a place, you want to let them know that you need a window regulator for your vehicle. And most likely they can double check it once the panel is off of the vehicle and ask them roughly what will it run to put a window regulator in this vehicle. I'm amazed that the dealership would not do that. I would try an independent shop is absolutely fine, but other dealerships probably would if you was to call them. Both are good. I like independent shops and I like dealerships. There's good of all, but you want to be able to call around before you take the time to take the vehicle somewhere. You want a rough idea how much it's going to run, and they probably going to tell you they got to take the door panel off before they give you an estimate, but let them know it's making a grinding noise, and so you're reasonably sure it's going to need a window regulator. They'll give you an estimate. And you look at it, you kind of determine whether it's a good estimate. There's some places online on Google that you can just go to and say, well, yeah, that sounds like a decent price, and make sure that the price is good. And as soon as you feel comfortable, take the vehicle and have that done. But it sounds like that's what you're going to need.
Okay, that sounds in line with what they're telling me. But I was shocked at the prices, because one of the dealers, it was going to be $189 to evaluate, and if I had the service done there, they'd take $30 off.
Okay.
And then another one said it'd be $630 to replace it.
Yeah, that would not be uncommon. I hate to say that, but it's you can kind of call around and compare prices. But the 109, that's accurate because they do have to pull the door panel off to be sure. But if you're in that grinding noise, that's pretty much what it's going to be. So high probability it is going to run around that amount. So that's okay. I realize it's a lot, but high probability that's not going to be that far off.
Well, the reason I called you is to get another source, good information, and I appreciate it.
Well, we thank you. We thank you very much for calling. Okay, the number to call, 800-224-9090. If you got a question about your car, your truck, your SUV, you give us a call. And I'm sitting here with Gary Settles and Shannon Rogers. We're discussing different features that are on vehicles that we have. And some of the things that that we talked about a little earlier had to do with the airbags. And, of course, airbags have been on vehicles for many, many years. Of course, a standard airbag on cars years back, they would pretty much come out at, about 4,500 miles per hour.
Yeah, it's ridiculous speeds.
I mean, very, very quickly.
Well, it's an explosion.
It is. It's an explosion. But the vehicles now with the smart airbags, it's not. It's much, much better. Do you run into some people that have that are very safety conscious, and that's one of the things that they're looking for when they bring a vehicle in?
Absolutely. That's one of the top things that people are looking for, is especially families. Now, if you have kids, you absolutely want to make sure that they're as safe as they can possibly be. So, of course, they're going to ask how many airbags, what are all the safety features. Talking about airbags in specific, the more the better. You know, back when they first started putting airbags in, we had two up front. You had one in the steering wheel and one in the passenger side dash. The car behind us has 12. Mm-hmm. 12 airbags.
12 airbags.
12 airbags.
Wow. And the good thing on that is only the ones needed would deploy, because there's also sensors in the seat. And if no one's in the passenger seat, it does not deploy that airbag.
Correct.
Because that is one of the costs involved. Like if a vehicle's involved in any type of accident, how many airbags went off determines whether that vehicle is repairable or not repairable.
And ultimately, the cost of a repair doesn't really matter.
Right, when you're talking about
when it comes down to it.
Good point.
If the car is totaled, the car is totaled. If a life is saved, That's all that matters.
Excellent point.
But you're right. For example, on this vehicle, if it were to get hit on the driver's side, the vehicle's smart enough to know which airbags need to go off, where they need to go off, and even how hard they need to go off. You know, there's actually dual stage airbags that if you get hit under 30 miles an hour, they're only going to inflate to a certain level to basically cushion that blow. Of course, you know, about 3 years ago, I got T-boned on Jefferson Davis at 55 miles an hour. Every airbag in the vehicle went off, and they went off as hard as they could go, thankfully. But you know, walked away from that accident.
Wow.
So it's
Gary, we're starting to run out of time. Any last words you want to say?
I've really enjoyed our time together. I appreciate you and your crew coming out here and setting up. I believe we started 6 a.m. just to get this show on the road. So I just enjoy your listeners participating, and I think it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate the opportunity.
We have had a good time, haven't we?
Yes, sir.
It's been fun. Shannon, any last words? Yes. Shake hands. That's the way to do it.
Thanks for coming over, man. We've enjoyed it.
Well, I've enjoyed being here. We've enjoyed being here. Absolutely beautiful showroom. And it was a great opportunity to tell people about all the wonderful options that's available in vehicles now. And it is just, it's so exciting. Oh, what's to come? We didn't even get a chance to cover that part like I had hoped
That'll
to.
take a lot longer than 2 hours.
It will. You add some AI in with all this stuff, and it's really going to be amazing. Okay, we've reached our destination on the GPS for this week's C&C Auto Show. Thank you, Gary Settles and Shannon Rogers, for making us feel so welcome here at Philip Hawkins Motor Company. We had a great time, and thank you, Mason Rogers and Jacob Johnson, for making this possible. We both had a great time. We'll see you next week. More of the C&C Auto Show.